Hi there, this is Jackie Martin with Be More Learning. So excited to be here with a brand new interview series called Opportunity Knocks. And today I have such a treasure with me. This is Carolyn Thompson. She's with Training Systems, and we've been friends for, gosh, Carolyn, a long time.
Yes.
I love that you're here and sharing with us. And today's subject is going to be about how can we find a fabulous job? How can we survive that interview? How can we find out what it is employers are looking for in new employees, team members of any age? And so let's just get started first by Carolyn. Tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
So I work for a company that's a training company. And I think the thing that you would want to know more than anything else is that our training company got hired by my son's high school when he was a senior in order to do interviewing training for all the seniors. And I have to tell you that whatever people learned during that time period, my son learned nothing, because the entire time he was just dying of embarrassment that his mom was doing this interviewing training. So that's a tip for you. No matter who it is doing the interviewing training, listen to them.
I love that. I love it. So let's start out with, I'm sure the techniques, the ideas that you shared, you can share with us too. So how about we just start there? Give me a couple of your top tips that you would give a student as they were headed out to try to find it, either an internship or a part-time job or something that they could do maybe in their field or just to make a little extra money this summer.
Number one tip, this comes from employers. Do not bring your mom. Come to the interview by yourself. If you need to be dropped off, if you need to be picked up, no problem. And no matter how bad your mom and dad or your brother or your sister, or by the way, your friends or your girlfriend, no matter how bad they want to come, no matter how nervous you are and you just need them there, I promise you, you're not going to get the job if you bring them. So you might as well just leave them at home. It's not easy to tell your mom or your dad that you don't need them. So try telling them, like, let's say that you wanted to go to some weekend party that you thought they would say no to. If they ever did say yes once before, what words did you use that convinced them? How did you make them think that this was the right thing to do? Use those exact same words and actions to try to get them to stay home from the interview. So that would be the number one thing that employers say.
I had a local employer. He has a sandwich restaurant, and he actually said a story about that very thing. A young gal came in and she brought her best friend. Same reasons, I'm sure. She was nervous. She thought, well, and maybe they were already out. They saw a help wanted sign. They decided. So the two of them went in, and he actually said he was more impressed with the friend and ended up hiring her instead. So let me just say, don't bring a friend along. I think that's great advice. All right, give us another one.
During the interview, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
So during the interview, or even before the interview, do look at your clothes. I'll tell you the same thing that I would tell a 30 or a 40 or a 50 or a 60-year-old. Wear the kind of clothes that relate to the job that you're going to be doing. So if you're going to be doing a counter job in a sub sandwich shop, obviously don't go in ripped up jeans, but don't go in a super fancy, tight, skinny, cool dress if you're a girl, or a suit and a tie, because that's not what the job is about. There's possibility for overdressing as well. And how do you know? Research. If this is a place you can walk in and see, what are the staff wearing? All right, I get it, they're wearing uniforms, but you know, what kind of uniforms? Is it a pullover shirt or is it a button shirt? And then just match whatever that is. It just doesn't have their logo on it.
I love that, because I know that has to do with building rapport, that they see you like them, which is really what you're going for.
Exactly.
All right, so let me ask you about an application versus a resume. What if you don't have a resume? Isn't filling out an application good enough, or should you have both?
Sadly, there's no prescription for this. It depends on what the organization is looking for. Again, this is research. This is no different than the research that you do for a paper for school. You have to make a phone call. You have to walk in there. You look on their website. What are they asking for? If they ask you to fill out their application, then you're not going to need a resume. If they say send a resume, then you need a resume. And the only difference is that you have complete control over what goes on that resume. The application, you have to answer the questions they ask, and maybe there isn't a space for you to tell something that you really wanted them to know. So it's a good exercise for you to create a resume, even if no one in your student life ever asks you for one.
So let's talk about resumes for a minute. Let's say you do want to create one. Where's the best place to turn to find out how to do that?
There are a lot of great websites. Actually, I would have to say there's probably no bad ones. There are some things on the internet that are like, the internet, don't listen to this. But almost everybody's going to have the same deal going. There are books too. You can get books. There are multiple ways to lay out a resume. And so the website or the book that you're looking for is one that gives you multiple formats, multiple looks. If the book or the website is saying, oh, there's only one way, ditch that one and go to the next one, because there's multiple ways and you want to choose the one that is most showing of who you are. If you like lots and lots and lots of words, then you probably want to have one that gives you some space to tell lots of things. Understand that the resume that you might do now for the kinds of jobs you would have as a student allow you to make the format you want, and it'll be great. When you're an adult, you want to choose the format that the employer wants, because now you'll be at a different level in the interviewing process, a different level in the job employment process. And in order to get somebody to buy you, it needs to look like what they're expecting. Now they're not going to be even expecting a resume, most of them. And so they'll just be impressed that you've got, some good meat there. And again, even if you never use the resume, the process of having to think through what would I say will allow those things to come out your mouth when you're in an interview. Good practice.
So let's talk a little bit about that. When you're sitting down to have an interview, are there some key things to keep in mind? It's a little unnerving to be up in front of somebody who's asking you questions. Any keys to success there?
Even if you think it's not unnerving, it's going to come out somewhere on you. The absolute most confident person is going to have something. So there's all kinds of books and websites and classes on answer questions like this, ask questions like this. None of that will even matter if you don't deal with the nerves that you're going to have. And those nerves are not bad, by the way. They help you be like excited and, be this great person. You just have to get control over them. So here's the things that have been most irritating to me when I am interviewing you. Playing with anything. So no paper clips, no rubber bands, no change in your pockets, no necklace. I would never wear a necklace. I am 60 years old. I would never wear a necklace to an interview because I know that I play with them. No rings, anything that you know for sure you play with, or anything that even is a possibility. The biggest problem is this right here. I need a pen because I need to write things down, and you need to write things down, because if you don't, then the employer will think that you're not listening. Writing is a listening behavior. You must write, even if you're like the photographic memory person. I play with the pen. I just do. So make sure at least you don't bring one that you could click the top, or that you could open it up and put ink all over their desk. So nothing you can play with. And then number 2 thing, do not lean on their desk. Do not lean on the counter, whether this is a standing interview or a sitting interview. Think of their space. In the era of COVID-19, this is probably easier for you, but pre that, you don't want to be in their space. So no leaning, just sit straight up in the chair, and that's a very good listening behavior. So I guess to sum it all up is you want to do things that look like you're listening and you care. And when you're playing with things, or when you're leaning on things, or you're slouching in the chair, you don't look like you're listening.
Mm. Wow, all good advice. Okay, so let's say, because I know you help teach people in human resources, and that's the department that usually helps with the hiring or helps with training people who are already in an organization. I did want to ask you a little bit about if you are a young person getting a job, and now you have to work with people who are a lot older than you. How do you do that well?
Well, this is personal and dear to my heart because everyone I worked with when I was a teenager and even in my early 20s after I got a college degree and got a professional job, they were all older than me. And I don't mean like a year. They were older than me. And so, yes, you can do things like I did, have a more older haircut, wear more older clothes, etc. But the inside is what the problem is. I was going to tell you that you need to ask them, how should I interact with you? What would make it be a successful interaction? I actually think you have to go one step before that. What is in your head that's causing you to be concerned about working with older people? And if you're sitting there listening to this going, yeah, but I'm not concerned about working with older people, you're lying to yourself. Because when you get in there, you're either going to think, oh my gosh, these people are so old and so boring, or you're going to think, oh, they have so much more experience than me and they look down on me. Whatever it is, you're going to think it. You don't think it now, but you're going to think it. So I first have to remember, oh, they're not that different than me. So what I did as a 22-year-old getting my first job out of college was look at what I guessed the people's ages to be. And then I looked in my life, aunts, uncles, my parents' friends, neighbors, somebody else that I knew, somebody at church. I looked for people that were that age that I was comfortable with. And I thought, oh, this is nothing. So part of it is just that we don't know the people. It's no different than you look at an athlete, like a big star athlete or a movie star or something, and you think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then you meet someone like that, and all of a sudden they're just like you. So that'll help to you. Find people that are the age of the people you're working with, who you already know, and can get comfortable knowing that they're probably not that different.
Well, yeah, because everybody's been that age before. They remember what it was like in their early years. And so, and they can, if you can get through that, then they can be incredible resources for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They are some of my longest mentors, the people that I met in my early 20s to this day. And I'm talking, every kind of job possible, whether it was grocery deli or it was a counseling job or it was a secretarial job. It doesn't make any difference what it is. Those people are going to be really useful to you if you are, appropriate and polite. And then they'll think that you're just the greatest thing.
I love that. I love that. And I do think in some ways, but it's true on both sides for anybody older getting to know younger employees and vice versa. It does take an effort. You have to be intentional about it. And so saying it's important for me to know them and for them to know me, that starts you on that path to intentionally getting to know people.
Yep.
Love that. Okay, so I want to ask one more question then. If you were to think in terms of, and there are probably so many ideas you have, what would be one other key to success of walking in the door and getting the job that you could tell a young student? What would it be? Any others?
Sounds very trite. You've heard it before. Be yourself. That sounds easy, but it's hard if you don't know who you are. So read a book, do an assessment, ask 10 people to give you words that describe what they think of who you are. You need to know who you are so that you can be that when you go out into the world. If instead you try to be Jackie or you try to be Carolyn when you're not, it's going to be fake and the people are going to know it and you're going to be nervous because you're trying to remember how do I be Jackie? Just be you, but you have to know who you is, even if it's just some words to define yourself so that you've got a sense of what that is, and then just be it when you go out there. And I know this is hard when you really wanted that job, but if you didn't get it because you were being you, it wasn't the right job for you in the first place. And it would have just been miserable. You would have been miserable. Your parents would have been miserable. The employer would have been miserable. If it's a good interviewer, they know whether this is right for you or whether it's not. If you're a good interviewee, you'll know if this job is right or if it's not. And as much as you think you want this job, just move on to the next one.
I love it. Carolyn, thank you. Thanks for sharing your expertise. Thanks for sharing your kind of story of how you helped your son and his classmates, but also how you did it yourself. So I appreciate that.
You're so welcome, Jackie. Great project you're working on. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you for watching and joining us for Opportunity Knocks. Go out and get that job.